The Galactic Arena was abuzz with anticipation. Representatives from 100 alien races filled the stands, eager to witness the newest competitors in the legendary gladiatorial games. This year's event promised to be unlike any before, for a new species had burst onto the galactic scene, the humans of Earth. Captain Zaxxon Vortex, the preeminent military historian of the Zorlax and a regular commentator at the arena, turned to his co-host. "I must say, Thiplo, I'm quite curious about these humans. What have you learned about them?" Thiplo Zeph, a veteran war-blooded announcer, consulted his notes. A most unusual species, Zaxxon. Bipedal, no natural armor, primitive weapons. On paper they seem hardly fit for the arena, and yet here they are, Zaxxon finished. They must have some hidden strengths. Down on the arena floor, the human delegation stood ready. Commander Jackson Stryker, a grizzled veteran of Earth's orbital marines, sized up their competition. Insectoid Zigit hulking cruel berserkers, and a dozen other fearsome warrior races. His men were the finest Earth had to offer, but this would be the ultimate test. Commander Stryker, a deep voice rumbled behind him. Jackson turned to see General Gorg of the Krull, towering over him in his powered battle armor. "I look forward to seeing your species' famed prowess in battle, though I must warn you." The giant alien's voice dripped condescension. "No race has ever won the arena on their first outing. I fear you may be out of your depth." Stryker bristled but kept his tone even. "Underestimate us at your peril, General. We humans have a few surprises in store." Gorg laughed, a sound like boulders smashing together. "We shall see, Commander. We shall see." With that, the Krull stomped away, leaving Stryker alone with his thoughts. He looked over to where his men were checking their weapons one final time. Sergeant Riker Bronson, his right-hand man. The twins, Privates Korvax and Zorian Orion, inseparable since birth. And Corporal Traxon Vexex, a mountain of a man even without his exosuit. They were all looking to him, he knew, for leadership and strength. And by all the stars in the galaxy, he would not let them down. Suddenly, the bell rung, signaling the start of the games. Stryker snapped his helmet on and unslung his plasma rifle. "All right, orbital marines, move out." They marched into the arena to the roar of 100 alien throats baying for blood. In the stands, Zaxxon leaned forward, eyes glinting. "Let the games begin." The first event was a free-for-all melee, a dozen warriors in a labyrinthine combat pit. The Zorlak and Krull champions were the odds-on favorites, but when the dust settled, it was Sergeant Bronson who stood victorious atop a mound of twitching bodies. "Did you see that?" Thiplo Zaxxon shouted over the crowd. "The way that humans seemed to gain speed and strength as the battle went on. There's something uncanny about them." Indeed, as the day progressed and the competitions grew fiercer, the human warriors only seemed to fight harder. In the gauntlet run, an obstacle course from hell, it was Private Korvax who posted the fastest time, leaping and dashing like a man possessed. And in the mech clash, Corporal Vexex single-handedly demolished a trio of Zorgon battlewalkers, his exosuit screaming as he pushed it past its limits. By the final event, a no-holds-barred deathmatch, even General Gorg was watching the humans with wary respect. Commander Stryker and his men had blazed through the brackets, and now only the Krull stood between them and total victory. "This is it," Men Stryker said in the ready room. "One last fight. The Krull are tough, but we're tougher. We've got the strength of humanity behind us. I know I can count on each and every one of you to give it your all out there." His Marines shouted their assent, their voices joined by countless others watching on screens across the galaxy. In that moment, Jackson felt a surge of pride. They fought not just for themselves, but for their entire species. In the arena, the two teams clashed like titans, the Krull's raw strength against the humans' relentless ferocity. Plasma bolts flashed, blades whirled, and bodies flew. Private Zorian fell first, swarmed by a trio of Krull. His brother, Korvax, avenged him in a berserker rage, taking down two before being cut down himself. Corporal Vexex grappled with General Gorg, their exosuits groaning as they strained against each other. With a final heave, Gorg ripped Vex's armor apart, but Vexex, in a final burst of defiance, plunged his combat knife into the general's eye before collapsing. And then only Commander Stryker and Sergeant Bronson remained, back to back, surrounded by a ring of Krull. "Looks like this is it," old friend Stryker panted over the comms. Wouldn't want to go out any other way. Bronson laughed back. Think you can keep up, old man? In response, Stryker thumbed his rifle to full auto. Just try and stop me, you crazy bastard. And with twin battle cries, they leaped forward into the fray. In the commentator's booth, Zaxxon was on his feet, shouting, "Do you see that? Fiplo? Do you see the fire in their eyes, the way they seem to revel in the carnage? This must be the human secret, they actually enjoy combat." Fiplo could only nod, dumbstruck. On the arena floor, Stryker and Bronson fought like men possessed, plasma fire and shattered armor filling the air. They weren't just fighting, they were blazing with an inner fury, unstoppable, unquenchable. One by one, the Krull fell. And when the smoke cleared, only the two humans remained standing, bloody, battered, but alive. The crowd erupted. In the booth, Zaxxon was nearly apoplectic. Unbelievable. The humans have done it. Champions of the arena in their debut appearance. As medics rushed out to tend to the fallen, Commander Stryker limped over to where Sergeant Bronson lay, grievously wounded. He knelt, clasping the man's hand. "We did it, Riker," he said softly. "We showed them what humanity is made of." Bronson coughed, blood flecking his lips. "Knew we would, sir." "Knew we would." His eyes fluttered closed, his grip going slack. Stryker bowed his head, tears mingling with the blood and sweat on his face. And across the galaxy, on 100,000 worlds, humans cheered and wept with him. For on that day, in the crucible of the Galactic Arena, a new power had announced itself to the cosmos. The age of humanity had begun.